Hello, distinguished participants. My name is Abdulreza Ansari Amoli, a remote sensing senior officer and project manager working for remote sensing department of the Iranian Space Agency, ESA. My education background is water resources management engineering, and I hold a Master of Science in remote sensing. The topic of my presentation is Asia and floods, and in this session I focus on the flood events specification and general aspects of flood management among the Asian countries. Also, as a technical manager of the project entitled Establishing and Operating Flood Monitoring and Warning System using Satellite Imageries, led by Iran, under the APSCO Data Sharing Service Platform DSSP application projects, it is my pleasure to welcome all distinguished participants of this training course with the title of Flood Damage Assessment using Remote Sensing Data. The project is one of the 8 projects proposed by APSCO member states, including Bangladesh, China, Iran, Mongolia, Pakistan, Peru, Thailand, and Turkey. This training course is one of the 3 courses designed for above project. There are also 2 other training courses planned for the next couple of months. And finally, I should acknowledge Iranian Space Research Center for all their efforts in holding this training course. Here you see the outline of the major topics of the presentation. I start to give an explanation about the brief overview of disasters, frequency, and damage in the global scale, and I will move on to talk about Asia and disasters, including the most vulnerable countries in Asia, hydrometeorological disasters, the major countries in Asia hit by hydrometeorological disasters, floods, hydrometeorological hazards, and Asia and flood situation. After that, I will discuss about the role of scientific research on flooding and the status of the flood-related research in Asia subcontinent. Flood management strategies is the next topic. And after that, I talk about Asia and the most vulnerable countries to floods, including some successful flood management experiences in Asia region and weak points in flood management in Asia. Sustainable management of floods across Asia is another important topic that I talk about it. After that, I will continue with talking about framework for sustainable flood risk management. And after that, solutions for sustainable flood mitigation strategies. And finally, I conclude my session. In this picture, you see the frequency of intense natural disasters generally increased during the period of 1971 to 2010, increasing almost fourfold during 1971 to 1980, period A, to 2001 to 2010, period B. And meteorological disasters. This broad pattern also holds for Asia and the Pacific, which accounted for around half of the global frequency of intense natural disasters during the mentioned period. In general, the damage inflicted by a given natural disaster is also increasing alongside frequency. 2/3 of this increase is due to the rise in people affected by intense hydrometeorological disasters. Of the total increase in the number of people affected by intense disasters from period A to period B, 90% is in Asia and the Pacific. Geographically, Asia and the Pacific accounted for half of the increase in damage worldwide. This table shows the top 10 countries by number of natural disasters occurred since 2006 to 2015. Data reflect that in this period of time, each year, majority of countries are from Asia among top 10 countries hit by natural disasters. China, India, Philippines, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Nepal are Asian countries widely vulnerable to natural disasters. Asia is on the verge of natural disasters and has witnessed numerous disasters with devastating impacts. For example, during 2015, about 62.7% of total global disasters were recorded in Asian region. Approximately 167 natural disasters were recorded in Asia during 2015, which is far greater than the natural disasters occurred during the period of 2005 to 2014. A number of researchers are in agreement that Bangladesh, China, and India are more vulnerable to natural disasters due to their geographical locations, and extensive human and material losses could be anticipated. Among disasters, hydrometeorological disasters such as cyclones, thunderstorms, typhoon, landslides, floods, and drought appeared raised up to 30% as compared to period of 2005 to 2014. China, India, Philippines, Indonesia, and Pakistan were the countries major hit by hydrometeorological disasters in Asia. On an average, these countries faced 55% of total natural disasters prevailed during 2015. More or less 69 million people were affected from reported disasters across Asia. It may be concluded that with the passage of time, frequency of natural disasters is on the rise, which may be more elevated in the forthcoming years. Among meteorological disasters, floods are major natural disasters that affect many regions around the world year after year, causing loss of lives, damaging economies and human health. More than one-third of the world's land area is flood-prone, affecting about 82% of the world's population. According to some sources in disaster statistics, about 3 billion people in more than 110 countries are affected by catastrophic flooding. Between 1980 and 2011, around 200,000 deaths were associated with floods worldwide. This figure illustrates the prevalence of natural disasters during 2002 to 2016 in Asia. Flood is the most prominent disaster, with share of 41.27 in Asian countries. During the period of 2000 to 2016, Asia faced more or less 2,692 disasters, including floods, earthquakes, landslides, extreme temperatures, storm, drought, wildfire, and epidemic. However, there is a significant gap between occurrence of flood and other disasters. Generally, it can be said that Asian region is more vulnerable to floods at present and in future as well.
Trails of devastation across the Asia-Pacific, lives and livelihoods destroyed by flash floods during the harvest season in Afghanistan, a nation already battling a humanitarian crisis. In northeast India and Bangladesh, unprecedented pre-monsoon rains engulfed homes and stranded millions. China, Thailand, and Cambodia not spared either, with pandemic-battered communities facing further woes. La Nina triggered heavy rain in Australia, lashing the country's east. But Pakistan saw Asia's worst calamity in decades. Record monsoon rains and melting glaciers submerged two-thirds of the country, killing at least 1,400 people. The Prime Minister called his nation ground zero of climate change. With rising global temperatures, experts say the monsoon is becoming more variable, and climate crisis preparedness, mitigation, and adaptation measures must be implemented to brace for the next big disaster and save lives.
This was just 1 minute news about the flood events and damage in Asian countries. The clip showed even developed countries in the continental are facing very critical situation regarding flood management. In fact, it shows countries need a lot of things to learn about flood management, including mitigation and adaptation. During this session, we will be familiar with different measures and methods that all stakeholders and flood managers can apply in order to reduce flood impacts and damages into phases of disaster management cycles, that is risk and crisis. Also, there are many plans and programs that countries should concentrate on them to increase resiliency against flood in Asia.
The National Weather Service differentiates between 4 different kinds of floods, all unique in their own way. I'm storm meteorologist Jason Myers, and in no particular order, here's all 4 and what they mean. Aerial flood. This is a gradual flooding resulting from persistent moderate to heavy rainfall. It's usually a ponding or buildup of water in low-lying areas. River flood. A specific point along a river or creek surpasses its flood stage. Water spills over the river's banks. This can be because of persistent rainfall, snowmelt, an ice jam, or a combination of all 3. Flash flood. These floods occur quickly or in a flash, usually within 6 hours of heavy rain. Small creeks and streams rise first and the fastest. These can also occur if a levee or dam fails. Coastal flood. This occurs during higher than average high tides made worse by heavy rain and onshore winds. These are most common during tropical storm events. No matter what kind of flood it is, they're all dangerous to lives and to property, so avoid them at all costs, and if one is headed your way, take the necessary precautions. Thanks for watching. Please like the video and subscribe to our channel.
Flood is an outcome of climatic changes. The impact of climate change on water resources is a matter of worldwide concern. Global warming accelerates the process of the hydrological cycle, leads to redistribution and change in the quantity of water resources in time and space. One important implication of this is predicted increases in the frequency and intensity of extreme